Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the interview, LA edition. Today, got a special guest who's not necessarily from LA, but man, when I'm telling you, I mean, he's made so many waves here, and we've talked. This is pretty much his new home. But
Facts.
if y'all don't know who Chef Beanz is, I'm happy to introduce him. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Chef Beanz, man. Thanks for being here, bro. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, man. I love just pulling up, supporting, telling my story, and just having great conversation.
Yeah, we're gonna have one today. And for people who don't know who you are, just go ahead and tell them who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so for the people who don't know me, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Chef Beans, but my birth name is Quan. I'm from Camden, New Jersey. I relocated to Los Angeles, I want to say in October of 2018. And Chef Beans doesn't necessarily originate from the kitchen. I more so created it as a metaphor for everything that I cook up creatively. So around like 2016, when I just had this Chef Beans nickname. I'm like, okay, I need a phrase. Then I came up with intentional consumption. Moved out here. Bread was a little tight. I was looking for different ways to make commerce. I'm like, why not make Be Intentional shirts since you already have intentional consumption? So you can have something that can speak for you, whether you in the room or not. That's where the Be Intentional brand came from. And now I'm just building things brick by brick. So I know that was like a microwave version of the things that I do because I'm also a playwright, writer, producer, director, entrepreneur. Overall, I'm a great friend who loves to support people just as they support me.
I love the end of that. So overall, I'm a great friend.
Yeah,
I don't
like
think I ever heard nobody. I didn't even a lot of people. Ain't nobody said that one right there. So that's a new one, man. Yeah, man. I'm glad that you kind of let people know a little bit about your playwriting. And we're gonna. You said microwave. We're gonna go ahead and put this in the oven. We got a little time together today. So
absolutely. I caught that metaphor too.
yeah,
Chef
yeah,
Beans microwave
yeah.
oven.
You
That
know what
was
I'm saying?
good.
I
That
know
was
what you're
good.
doing. I see what you're doing. But yeah, man. Let's talk a little bit about growing up, man. You said you're not from here. You're not from LA.
Right.
And most people that watch this or know about this show, or they understand it's the LA edition. But you're from Jersey, like you said. What's the talk to me a little bit about what it was like for Chef Beans growing up in Jersey?
So I'm from a small town called Camden, New Jersey. Small town, but nothing small comes from there. And grew up with teen parents. Primarily was in my grandma's house with a bunch of other kids. But a lot of times when I feel like people speak about their teen parents, it doesn't always reflect an essence of love. I was very loved, very supported. I'm just understanding, at least now as an adult, the challenges and hardship that comes with being a parent. And I'm not even a parent, but I've grown to have more empathy. But yes, grew up, got put into after school program where I played the instrument, a trumpet, just because I needed my energy redirected. I used to fight a lot, curse a lot as a kid, all those different things that people wouldn't expect now knowing me as an adult. But I'm extremely grateful for all the love and support that was poured into me because the more and more I think about my childhood, I know how easy it was for me to get into the streets or different things that I'm happy I opted out. And now, as opposed to, I guess, in drug terms, like buying a brick, I just looked at myself as a brick and something that I can just be continuously flipped with my creativity, my voice, and things like that. And I'm just excited and happy to make an impact off of the things that I do and the people that I inspire.
So like you said growing up as a kid, you would get into fights a lot. And I
Yeah.
seem to be a common pattern of it's like the old game banger who turned preacher, right? It's like like that's a LA legendary story, right? Every preacher sold drugs or whatever.
Right. That's funny.
So it seems to be the same situation where you were a troubled kid and now it's kind of like you're the opposite of that.
Complete
So
opposite.
like what kind of trouble kid was you? What was you getting into? Like why were you getting into trouble?
So I was getting into a lot of trouble just because that was the culture, that was the environment. And I wasn't necessarily, I won't say I was born a fighter, but in the environment that we grew up in, the household is like, don't come back here. If somebody put their hands on you, you put your hands
Right,
back on
right,
them.
right, right,
Don't
right.
come back beat up. You better go beat them up. And I remember vividly the first time I got into a fight, I called it L, but I didn't even fight back because I was just so shocked that this was happening at school.
Right.
But the moment I started fighting back and I started winning, now everything was just like on go. And it was just like, somebody said something, whatever, fight me then. Somebody said something, fight me then. And I might get in trouble when I got home, but that was only going to be temporary. But I want to say in about like 7th or 8th grade, I remember I got into a lot of trouble. And the minister at my church, I was like a trumpet solo type performance that I had to do, but my tie wasn't all right, my pants was sagging, all of that. He like pulled me off stage, dragged me to the back of the chapel, to the back door, and was like, "Look, if you keep this up, if you keep being a follower, X, Y, and Z, you're going to end up either dead or in jail." And I don't know why that just spoke to me in that moment, but he was just like pouring into me at the same time. Like, you're extremely talented, you have light, but you'll end up just like most of the people in this neighborhood if you don't lean into it. And for whatever reason, that day I started to just like alter my perspective. Like maybe I just need to redirect all this energy that I have, because I think that's what happens in a lot of inner cities. Like some kids get deemed as put into like a special class or things like that, or troubled youth, just because certain people don't know how to really harness their energy. But if there were different tactics to redirect certain children, I don't think as much issues will be happening in some of these school systems or neighborhoods.
Yeah, and I learned too, just in my studies of communication, like usually violence breaks out when people can't communicate
Right,
well. When you communicate well, it usually prevents violence. But at a young age, you can't communicate that well. You don't
right,
have a vast vocabulary, wide vocabulary, and even as the Black culture, we don't usually have a wide vocabulary. It's very
right,
limited because historically we don't read,
right,
or we don't pay attention to those things. So I can see, what I'm saying, why now that you do have that,
right.
you have all the outlets to express yourself is totally different, right? I understand as an adult. So were you a part of like any like gangs or groups or anything like that growing up?
Nah, I went to the Salvation Army growing up. That was that was my game. The Salvation Army has and had an after school program growing up in Camden. So I can honestly say that saved my life. One of the things,
Mm-hmm.
because again, I just had all this different energy and I was just using it to either fight, get in trouble, all these different things. But once my cousin came back to my grandma's crib, told us we was all going to the after school program, I might have started off a little rough. Like I remember throwing Bibles at people, all like completely bugging out. But once an instrument got put into my hand and certain
Mm.
things, I was able to just really reallocate my energy, especially talking about expressions and communication. A lot of Black boys aren't taught that emotions equate to strength. We're taught to suppress our emotions. We're taught not to show them. So the more and more I had to unlearn that headspace and learn that vulnerability does have, its strength components, that's when things in my life really started to just propel.
So you said somebody put a trumpet in your hand.
Hmm.
Yeah. How old were you at this point?
Probably was in like second grade.
Okay. Second grade. So that's when you start playing instruments.
That's when I started, yes, playing instrument. Yep.
Wow. And do you still play trumpet to this day?
I picked it back up like a year ago, but I want to say I put it down in ninth grade. That's when I started getting into like sports,
Mm-hmm.
girls, and things like that. And it
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
the
And when it's
instrument
cool.
it just wasn't cool at
Yeah.
the time. But I wish I never put it down, because I actually always enjoyed music and playing instruments and things like that.
Yeah, I always said I played baseball since I was 4, and then when I got to like 10th grade, it wasn't glorified. So
Right.
I'm like, I'm gonna play football because that's where all the all the girls is there, all the
Right.
attention. They got the band out.
Uh-huh.
Nobody's showing up for baseball games, but I wish I would have kept it going because I had the talent to take it to the next level, right?
Absolutely.
But good old influence of other people, right?
Right.
So yeah, so now you getting so we talked a little bit about that. Tell me about your high school experience because I feel like that shapes people right before they become adults, right? Kind of gives you your first foundation of who you're gonna become, what decisions you're gonna make.
Right.
What changed for you in high school?
So in high school, the sport that I played was wrestling. So I wrestled in
Wow.
high school. I've been on varsity since freshman
So
year.
still out there fighting, huh?
Yo, still just like I said, just redirecting that energy that I've
Yeah.
always that tenacity. So
Yeah.
and I was like very good at wrestling, but my senior year, right before it started, I tore my meniscus.
Ah.
And just like a lot of dudes in the hood, whatever, who have hoop dreams, is the same thing. Whatever sport that you feel like you're really great at in high school, like this is going to be the sport that saves me or rescues me or is going
Yeah.
to give me the scholarship, and I'll be able to do this, this, and that. So once that happened senior year, and I didn't have the senior year that I was projected to have, or I thought I was going to have. Now I'm like, okay, now I need to look at colleges different, because I was looking at a lot of colleges initially for wrestling. Now I'm just like, I just want to go to college, because that
Right.
was like the culture with the friends that I had. We all gonna
Right.
go to college,
Nice.
pressure from the parents, all of that. And I ended up Yes, graduating, even I guess academically, I had pretty average grades, even though I've always been above averages. School just came easy to me.
Hmm.
So so yes, that was my high school experience. I mean, yeah, I was involved in a lot of different like clubs and things like that. I always just like just being involved with
Did
different
you find
groups.
yourself like being a trouble kid in high school, or you
No,
kind of
no, no,
was
no, no, no.
by that time you was
I started to dwindle away from that
okay?
was primarily elementary school.
Hmm.
Then I eventually started living with my dad. And, middle school got better, and then by the time I was in high school, I was just more so just focused on grades,
Yeah.
girls, and just like having fun with my boys.
So I'm glad you brought up your father, because that was actually gonna be my next question.
Okay.
Was did you have both parents in the house growing up?
So at an early so my mother was 16 and my father was 15
Wow.
when I was born. So I started out living with my grandma and
Naturally, right? They're
yeah, like
kids.
naturally you feel me, like they're
Wow.
kids. So um I want to say maybe when I was in third or fourth grade, you create the Christmas list, what you want for Christmas, throw a bunch of things on there, the Spider-Man web spray, all that.
Hmm.
But another thing that I put on there is I wanted to live with my dad. Just I wanted to just see what it was like. And then once I started living with my dad, I was living with my dad and my stepmom. Not say
So you say your dad. You said you were in sixth grade when you wrote
like
that.
fourth grade.
Fourth grade.
Yeah,
Okay, so you about 10 years old at
yeah,
this point. So your father is 25
yes,
now. Still a very young man.
right.
Okay, I just want to get
No,
get the
just
lay of
get
the
the
land.
numbers.
Right.
So
All
I
right.
started living with my dad and my stepmom, and I'm only saying stepmom, not that like she served as a mother role
For
as
sure.
well,
For
even though
sure.
my mom was still like present. My mom just lived in a different part of
Mm,
Camden. So that was like my upbringing. And my stepmom poured a lot into me. And me and my dad didn't have the greatest relationship, at least to me, like at the time. But again, like as an adult, the more impact comes in to my mind because he didn't have the greatest relationship with his father. And a lot of
right.
times you're just like repeating things. And when I say not the greatest relationship, sometimes people literally don't know how to connect or be vulnerable with their child. I know we're
Hmm.
part of a new generation where sometimes people be like, how could you, or X, Y, and Z,
Right.
and this, and that. But there has to be space to for both things to exist. Yes, certain things might not have happened, but also you have to have grace. So maybe the parent did what they daughters though was best, and maybe
And
that was just
and it was
provide.
a different time. Like
Completely different
we
time.
thought milk does the body good,
Right.
for a long time.
Facts.
So the education wasn't there. Now everybody's vegan. We got gyms on every corner. They
Hmm.
didn't grow up. They didn't have that.
Right.
So
Facts.
yeah, I agree with you.
You know what I mean? So like now I want to say like me and my father have a better, more consistent relationship, but there's more open communication and with my mother as well. But after moving out here, I think I know we'll get to that, but I got into an isolated spot where I'm like, in order for me to have all these lasting relationships with other people, I need to communicate with certain unaddressed things in these components. And I started
Right.
with my parents and I just like made my way down.
So while you're living with your grandmother, because obviously your parents don't even know what's going on,
Right.
right? Did you spend a lot of time with both your mother and your father? Were you going on the weekends, or were they coming
Yeah,
by? How was that?
it was like weekends. Sometimes I would go to my dad's spot or my mom's spot, but mostly at least like at elementary school, I was living with my grandma. And I had a bunch of cousins living there too. So I probably had
Hmm.
5 other cousins living there.
Right.
Even my grandma's other
Yeah,
kids.
my grandma same way.
You
Yeah,
know what I
mine
mean?
knowing.
So we were just like having fun and just that's where the imagination was most like vibrant. Us just looking for different things to like have fun and get into. But we again, like I want to circle back to the after school program that served as a space for us to be like expressive in different ways.
Mhm.
And I think in a lot of inner cities, especially the ones that lack resources, that's how a lot of kids get into stuff because
Yeah,
they're just looking for stuff to do.
yeah. Let me ask this question, because I'm particularly interested for especially black men, how their father played the role in who they are today.
Right.
So the question is, how big of an impact, whether he was the greatest father, not the greatest father, how big of an impact do you think that he had on who you are today?
I think extremely like large impact because again when I think about me and my father's relationship, I think about um like a kid raising a kid. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because my dad had me when he was 15. I couldn't imagine having a kid when I was 15. So when I think about that and I think about
Literally couldn't imagine.
literally couldn't
Can't
imagine.
even conceive that thought.
Can't
Right.
even conceive that thought. But it's like I understand at the end of the day that my dad provided. I understand that at the end of the day, he did what he felt as though was best. And one of the biggest lessons that I know I take from my dad, I don't know how artistically I'm gonna show it, but I know a lot of times when I saw my dad, he had like paint on his boots, right? From like doing like construction or whatever thing like that. And I think when I first saw it, like as a kid, I'm like, well, why are you wearing dirty boots? But the more and more I got older, I'm like, that paint was a metaphor for work has been done. Like, you know what I
I'm
mean?
proud to wear these boots.
Right,
All right, real
like
talk.
work has been done. Like, and I think as a youth, sometimes you might look at different things and judge it, but the more and more, and every time I see like paint on boots, it just to me it does something because it's connected to childhood. And I'm like, okay, work has been done. It's a lot of work that you don't even, a lot of people don't even see. They just see the aftermath, so they might see the scars of people who went away to war and different things like that, but they couldn't fathom the thought of what actually went down.
Yo, I'm
So
back here mind blown as I'm thinking about the metaphor of like when I do see paintable, I'm like, that man's going to work.
right,
And even when I built many studios, and many times sometimes I got sawdust on me.
sawdust,
I
paint
got
on your
paint, and I'm
fingers.
walking around, and I like it. I
Right.
like that people see me because I want them to know I'm at work.
Work
You know what I mean?
either at work or
Yeah.
work has been done and work is going to continue to be done. So like when I think about
Yeah, I like that.
people could point out a
Ooh.
million and one things about like my relationship with my parents was this, my relationship with my parents was that, but that's a choice. And as I grow and I mature, there's a lot more empathy, and I'm just going to continue to hold space and also not be afraid to share how I feel in different moments, but also just have gratitude because we know women have different choices. They can do whatever they want with their bodies. Like I'm sure as teenagers, there's a lot of people who probably would have got abortion or different things. Like I'm so grateful
Yeah.
for my parents and my family as a unit
Yeah.
being like, we gonna figure this out.
They got paint on their boots, bro.
They got paint on their boots.
Oh my god, I can't. That the metaphor alone,
Bro,
I'm losing it back here.
bro,
right
I'm telling you.
now, bro.
And mind you, this is the first time
Ooh.
I've ever even shared this with anybody.
Man, I'm glad you
I've
shared it
been
with me.
I've been
bro.
thinking about it like recently. Like I have my moments of
Huge.
reflection. I'm just like, I'm just grateful. I'm grateful for every part of my childhood, every aesthetic, where I come from, everything like that, because it's a certain grit
Yeah.
that I have in gratitude.
Yeah.
When people coming at me with different like excuses or things like that, I just be looking sometimes like, okay, you make the bed that you lay in, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna get to it regardless.
Man, that was powerful, man. Because that one that's probably gonna stick with me. Certain things that people say, and I've heard, and they stick with me almost forever.
Right.
And some people don't even remember them saying that. I'm like, no, that one you told me something, and it stuck with me forever. I think what you just told me just now, work has been done, and having paint on your boots, and not literally, but the metaphor behind that.
Yeah.
Like, do you have paint on your boots from today?
Right.
What have you done?
Right.
Man, huge, man. The same thing with your mother. I want to shed some light on your mother because once again, you had teenage parents. That ain't as common as it used, especially not out here. You been having kids, they 38.
Right.
So our generation specifically is we down on
Right,
having the
facts.
amount of kids we're having.
Facts.
So, what kind of role did your mother play in you becoming the man who you are today?
So my mother has 3 kids. I'm actually my mother's second child. So
Wow.
you get so
Okay.
that's
Right.
what I'm telling you, how like the intensity as far as like
Plot twist right now. It's happening.
crazy plot
Yeah.
twist, like okay, like another kid, boom. But now my mother played the big role just because I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I was able to appreciate it as a youth because a lot of times when I would go see my mom over the weekend, go over her house, she probably was at work or doing whatever.
Mhm.
So it was still me hanging out with my sister or my cousins or things like that. But now as an adult, when I think about my mom still getting like her degree and becoming a respiratory therapist and paying off different things, it's a metaphor and a reflection of the strength that I have in the brains and in everything. So that was something again that I had to appreciate more as an adult because again it was just like as a kid I think a lot of times you're just looking for answers or you're just trying to figure out, at least for me, you were looking at TV and you're seeing a lot of different relationships, whether that's parent child or whatever like that, and you question why isn't your situation like that, or I question why isn't my situation like this, and that
Right.
even
Like
goes
the
deep,
Cosby's and
like
the
the
Family
Cosby's,
Matters, right?
Family Matters, all of that. Like this just seems like more like structure and it's functional. And Bell Hooks in her book All About Love, she talks about how a lot of us grew up in functionally dysfunctional households. So the more and more I think about that, I think as a kid, sometimes I'll be like, why not? Or why isn't my situation like that I'm seeing? I feel like that's what it's supposed to be. But
Mm.
at the end of the day, your situation was how it was destined to be. So again, the more and more I think about it, I'm just super grateful at all that was poured into me, regardless to whenever I got the lesson or was able to just look at something from a different perspective.
Yeah, man. You know, I was lucky enough to have both my parents in my life as well, and they both raised me. They weren't together, but
Right,
the impact they had, and they were like 20 when they had me, and I'll be like, "Dog, y'all were 20 years old? Like, you know what I was doing at 20? You know
right,
what I'm saying? Like,
right,
definitely not thinking about no family."
right,
So I'm always giving my hats off to them for being young parents. Shout out to all the young parents
right.
that
Shout out to all of them
had to figure it out.
who had to figure it out and still figuring it out to this day.
Man, come on, man. So let's jump ahead a little bit, man. I want to get into your you as a career person. What you are widely known for is your playwriting.
Right.
Let's talk about that, man. What's the name of the play, and tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, so I have a play out right now called Transparency to Play. It started off as a web series, and prior to it being a web series, it was just an idea. In 2017 slash 2018, I got to a place in the previous relationship where I'm like, yo, we've never knew each other. We just kind of introduced strangers and freaking trauma bonded our way through it. But what if people were honestly and transparent on their first interaction or their first date? Then my mind went to, okay, what would that look like for a single parent though? What would that look like for someone that love at first sight? And my mind kept spiraling and building. And then I'm like, okay, maybe I should write these monologues. So after moving to LA in 2018 and 2019, that's when I shot the whole season, released them episode by episode. Then after season one of Transparency, did season two completely by myself, acted all 10 because it was the pandemic. I couldn't cast. After that, then did season three, shot it at Comfort LA. Shout out to Comfort. And after the success of season three, I wanted to challenge myself to show people these monologues live. So I'm like, okay, if you do 10 monologues, that feels more like an open mic. Why not create some dialogue, add some live music, and turn it into a play? And that's what Transparency to Play is now. It premiered at Matrix Theater in December of 2021. Then I took it to Hudson Theater of February 2022. Both sold out weekends. I fundraised, crowdfunded, all that, raised like 5,000 in less than 2 weeks. So I was moving fast. And after the two sold out weekends, my online community was like, hey, what about us? You know, I'm in Alaska. I'm here. We can't come see the play. So then I wrote another season of Transparency Chapter 4, which right now is being submitted to a lot of different film festivals. That's why if you haven't come to any screenings, you haven't seen it yet. And while that's simultaneously being submitted to film festivals, I'm about to return with Transparency to Play at the end of April at Hudson Theater again, just because of the high demand. But in a nutshell, that's what it is: a new approach to dating where people are overtly transparent on the first date.
And let me tell you that I've never been to one of the plays, which is strike against me.
It's all good.
But people I know have,
Right.
and the way that they've talked about it. Now we have mutual friends that we didn't even know that we had at a
Facts.
certain
Yeah.
point until somebody brings it up, right? And it's like, oh yeah, okay, you know my man's right.
Right.
And the things that they've said about your play, is on the level of I felt like what Tyler Perry was getting when
Right.
he
Right.
was in, before he hit the big screen.
Right. Facts.
That type of response, for people. And now you're taking it not just in the West Coast, but you're on the East Coast with it.
Right, right, right. So yeah, when I was on the East Coast, I was doing like screenings. Well, I did screenings of Transparency Chapter 4, like private screenings, just because I want to go into different cities, introduce Chef Beanz. So when I come back with the play, that we've already seen the screening and we've been crazy impacted by that. So
Mhm.
whatever he drops moving forward, I'm going to come and support it. So that's been like my strategy. But yeah, I've been to Philly, in the DC area, and right when I was about to go to Atlanta, so many people hit me up about the play back in this area. So I'm like, okay, let me do the play out here again, get some of my friends who work in big in entertainment, get them to bring their colleagues and their managers and people out because more people need to see it. Like the Black Renaissance is here. I'm not speaking from a place of manifestation. I'm speaking from a place of like confidence. So whoever feels like they want to be a part of
Now is the
the
time for
way,
sure.
now is the time
For
because it's
sure.
happening regardless.
And it's not going to stay forever.
It's
It's not
not.
going to stay this way. I
It's
agree.
not.
Man, I want to say this in a way where people can really understand how impressive that is. That's very difficult for what you're doing.
Bro, very difficult.
Very, very
Extremely.
difficult. So my question, did you come to LA for screenwriting for this journey, or was it something else that brought you to Los Angeles?
Bro, it's kind of interesting when I think about it because when I was in Jersey, I graduated a communication degree, even though I worked in education right afterwards. That was just the easiest job for me to get. And I felt like at a moment after years of being in education, I was only doing it because I was good at it, not necessarily because it fulfilled me. And the only thing that gave me fulfillment prior to moving out here was when I turned into like this Chef Beanz character on Snapchat. So I'm like, yo, how can you do this more time? What exactly is Chef Beanz doing? Chef Beanz is telling stories. Okay, if you feel like telling stories is what makes you give you inexplainable joy, you need to do that on the highest level. And I prayed about it. I'm like, am I either going to go to DC or LA? Because Jersey, I'm over Jersey, and my brother said something about going to UCLA for school and things like that. And I'm like, you know what? F it, LA. It seemed like that's the hub for entertainment, and people are telling stories on the highest level. I didn't necessarily know what that looked like, but I had an idea of what that felt like, and that's what got me to LA. Didn't have no job lined up. Slept in my car a little bit. I said shout out to Comfort LA because that was the first job I got out here. They helped me really get on my feet, fully supported me from day one to even now.
Hold on. We gotta rewind a little bit,
Bro, I'm telling you, bro. I've endured.
I know.
I've endured, bro.
So, because we talked a little bit about how difficult it is for people to come from different places and move to LA,
Yeah.
because the dream, it's a very thin line between a dream and nightmare out here.
Yes.
So, what was your expectation before you came? Like you said, it's the capital of the world, and then what actually happened? Like week one as you arrived. Like, tell me how that was.
So my idea coming out here, everyone who's never visited LA, even though I've been to LA prior to moving out here, we did a step show in 2015. Cali Greek, me and some of my frat brothers, Omega Sci-Fi, we came out here, won a step show, whatever. But I enjoyed the weather. I enjoyed all of that. So me driving out here, and again, I drove out here from Jersey.
Oh my God.
Took me 2 weeks because I wanted to make an experience.
You know what? It ain't gonna take. It's gonna take 2 weeks regardless,
bro. But I drove out here, and I want to say my first week. If anybody's ever played Sonic, when Sonic bumped into something, he lost all his rings or whatever like that. That's what I felt like happened when I touched down. It was just like, I'm like, yo, what's going on? So it was more expensive than I thought.
So hold on. So what happened? What was the situation that felt like you lost all your coins?
The situation that made me feel like I lost all of my coins. So I had someone who said they had a spot for me to crash at for a little bit.
Right.
That fell through because they gave it to somebody else. Then someone told me, like, because I could have went to a hotel. I had like probably $500 to my name. I was like, hotel might be too expensive. Let's see if I can find something cheaper. And it's crazy because someone referred a hostel to me. I'm like, I've never been to a hostel. Right. It probably can't be that bad. Right. Let me just see. Then I walked in there and I was just like, nah.
You went to Trade Winds right here on Century, didn't you?
Bro, no, it was a hostel in like the K-Town or somewhere. Right, it was right. Crazy.
Right.
So I'm just like, nah. And I slept in my car that first night and I woke up like, yo, what is going on? And then I did my hustle and bustle, went to like the Grove, put out a bunch of applications in random stores. And I was just moving so much that day that it came to nighttime again. I'm like, shit, you slept in your car once, you could do it again. And I did it again. I'm just like, yo, what? That's when, at that moment after night 2, that's when I'm like, yo, all the Sonic rings just felt like they was out. And I signed up for a gym membership at LA Fitness. No, not LA, Planet Fitness downtown. I remember I went there because I didn't have nowhere to shower.
Right.
So I was like, okay, I could give them $5 to start. How much you got to put down to start? Shower and stuff. And right when I was thinking about going home, I saw a big sign on the wall that said, you belong. And I'm like, you know what? I believe in signs. I believe in messages, finding you when they're supposed to. And I just limped my way through it. One of my frat brothers who was already out here, he said, yo, you could crash at least for like a week. Well, and things just started like compounding, and eventually I found someone who was looking for a roommate that helped me get into a spot. Then I moved to another spot. So I was bouncing around. But the reason why I say shout out to Comfort is because maybe week 1 or 2, I saw they had a sign saying looking for a host. And I'm thinking like a host, like hosting
You're
shows
like,
and
it's
stuff.
LA, right?
Right. I'm like, oh, they looking for a host. Like, yo, what's up? Then they was like, yeah, but we all hands on deck type of situation.
Right.
So though I had this Chef Beanz name, I've never really been in the kitchen. This was like my first experience in the kitchen. I feel like the chef guys was like, now you gonna earn that Chef
Right.
Beanz name. But I was so grateful for the experience because it literally broke me down. Like I humbled myself. So I'm squeezing lemons,
Right.
cutting potatoes, all
Right.
those different things. But my mentor, who owned one of the owners of the restaurant, he told me like, yo, don't get caught up in all this LA stuff. People think it's overnight success. He said, this is how you do it, 1 foot in front of the next. So it's like,
What's his name?
his name is Mark.
Okay, right on.
Yeah, Mark.
I interviewed one of the owners a while back. So,
Probably Jeremy, is either
I think
Jeremy
it
or
was
Mark.
Jeremy. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
Mark
was.
is the Mark is the other one. He was just like, he always give me game still to this day. Like I call him, he break down tax, he break down everything to me, but he just always gave me different books to read, things like that. Just like, yo, like you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do, 1 foot in front of the next. I could go down a rabbit hole of game that he gave me, but he was just like, one step at a time. Like, do not let social media or whatever tell you things supposed to be overnight success.
No, that's
not
the
real.
hustle. And you said so you sleep in your car for what? How long you sleeping in your car?
I slept in my car for about only for about 2-3 days.
Right.
Like
And
2-3
somebody let
days.
you
And then I was
crash.
couch surfing. But I was
Right.
couch surfing like that first week
Right.
or two before I found like something solid.
It's crazy because you gotta go through that when you
Yeah.
come out here. It's like it is the whole story. I was sleeping in my car. You like, he's be capping. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
everybody has that story, but you really had to do that.
Right.
For real, for real.
And I've the crazy thing is this is why people can never throw any smut on my name. So I've been documenting my journey since prior to me even leaving Jersey. I might do something like, hey, what's going on, y'all? Today is August 27, 2018. Man, I'm about to leave Jersey. To even I have videos from the day after I stepped in my car for the first time. I'm like, y'all, today is October 2nd, 2018. Just stepped in my car for the first time. I can't do this again. Like I document daily, but I have a backlog. So when I post them from like a year ago, people like, dang, that's what he was going through a year ago. That's what he was feeling right before his first play.
Yeah.
That's what he was feeling when he was in Iowa, when he was driving out here. I have all of these videos because, again, I'm like, I know there's no such thing as overnight success. People only post the highlights. Let me show y'all the raw, vulnerable moments when my friends is visiting me from Jersey and New York. They all want to go out. I only got $20 in my pocket. I'm trying to still be the Quan and Beanz that they remembered me to be, but it's fucking challenging. Like I have all these things, and it's just been, I'm grateful because if y'all think I'm gonna show y'all the most vulnerable moments of my life, just wait till y'all see what's next.
So let me ask you this: if you come out here, the only answer you can't give me is nothing. You can't say I wouldn't change nothing. I want to know, like, what would you change now that you know what you know when you first came out here? What would you change?
I would change my perspective. That's the first word that comes to my mind because what I learned from driving out here and visiting these different cities is that we all struggle. From like Chicago, I've been in Detroit, I've been in all these different places. Like, yo, we all going through stuff. And then prior to coming out here, I think I was misled by movies and TV shows as far as what LA is. I thought it was gonna be palm trees, sweet, different things like that. But at the bottom of a lot of these palm trees was somebody experiencing homelessness. And then me just naturally being a solid dude, having a genuine heart, me thinking everybody's going to have that. I ran into just situations where people weren't as genuine as they proclaimed themselves to be. But I'm happy to have met like solid LA people who like, regardless of all these transplants and people saying, bro, this is real LA.
Yeah.
This is boom. Yo, over here is where the car show used to be every Sunday. Yo, like I got like a real tour and a real appreciation of the real LA culture, and that's what I'm grateful for.
Tell me about a time that you had like culture shock because you from like LA. I mean, not from you from the East Coast.
Yeah.
So and it's like, yo, this is mad different. Like,
bro, culture. Well, the first thing was driving through Skid Row, seeing like a bunch of people experiencing homelessness. I've never really seen that up close or lived in any environment like that, just because there's a lot more people in LA than a lot of other parts of the country. So that was that. But also, It's gonna sound funny. I've been in some parties where they was partying. I'm like, yo,
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Welcome to LA for
I'm like,
sure.
oh, they party out here.
Yeah,
Yo, you want? Nah, I'm cool. Yo, you want? Nah, I'm cool.
yeah.
I've been in a couple of situations like that to where again I just had to be like, bro, just lock in, focus on what you focus on because LA sent a lot of people packing quick. So just like stay down and diligent, and that's what I've been doing, bro.
Yeah, problems to call this Mollywood. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Just for that reason, because it is you can get everything
you
under
can
the
you
sun,
get whatever you
whatever
want,
you want from
whatever you looking
LA,
for.
for sure. um, yeah, I know that had to be because I would think that have you was there a difference in like the gang culture? I guess that's what I want to ask too. Like,
Yeah, complete
did you have
difference.
any type of experience with that? Because I know people who do come here and be like, oh, okay, like I'm good, like I'm wearing whatever, I'm on this street, or I want
Right.
to go check out Nipsey's store, and they don't know what they doing over.
Yeah,
So
I've experienced that like a couple different times because on the East Coast, whatever we wear whatever fitteds, whatever hats we want, not knowing out here that they're connected to whatever gangs that people connected to. And I remember being at a bowling alley, and one of my boys who I was with had on a fitted, and somebody kind of pulled up on him like, "Yo, where y'all from?" He's like, "Bro, what you mean?" He said, "Where y'all from?" And then he kind of got into this whole spill. I'm like, "Nah, bro. I mean, we from Jersey or whatever like that." And then he was like, "Oh well, yeah. I mean, me and my girls, we about to go to a strip club over here in Compton. If y'all want to come, yeah. I mean, we about to be lit." My boy was with it, like, "Yeah, we go." I was like, "Yeah, we'll meet y'all there." But then after he walked away, I said, "Bro, we're not going with them. You crazy? I don't know this guy. He ain't about to line us up." But it's different situations. Like you could just tell when somebody, whether they old school or new school, trying to do something. But I feel like you get whatever you're looking for. I'm cool off of all of that. So I just really, bro, I mind my business and I keep
yeah,
it pushing. Like that's that, and it's been that. Even if it probably got close to being something, I don't know what it is, but it people just be chilling for the most part.
yeah. I think if you kind of give off a certain energy, like not that I'm scared of you, I just respect you, and I
Right,
think even to the gang culture out here, I learned very very young. I'm on the bus with it, so
right,
I'm writing down Crenshaw. I learned that if I acknowledge them and show them respect before they acknowledge me,
right,
or not even, or before they feel I'm a threat,
right,
then I always knock them down. Like if I would see a bunch of gamers, I'm like, "How y'all doing, man? Y'all doing all right? What's
right,
up?
right. Facts.
What's going
Like
on,
let's
black
just get
man?
this out the way.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah. What's going on? I respect y'all. I'm looking. I'm not, this. I also know the rules. I know what I'm supposed to be wearing over
right,
here. Also know the rules. So,
right. Well, that's
you
the
know,
thing. Like on the East Coast, at least like where I'm from, it wasn't really heavily gang culture. It just more so, yo, if I don't like you, I don't like you.
right.
And they'll go down probably in that moment or whatever. Not necessarily I'm from this area. Like Camden is small, so it's broken down into like East Camden, North Camden,
Hmm.
Pollock. You got the different like sections. I remember growing up, people was like bumping heads on that a lot, but
Just because people always war that's in proximity. There's no way
exactly.
around it.
It's like ego. There's a lot of
Hmm.
ego just clashing with ego. And sometimes you dealing with stuff that probably your uncles or cousins or probably did prior to you even got here. And it's just,
Hmm.
but yeah, for the most part, like it's, yeah, I just mind my
Um,
business.
Give me what's a hobby about Chef Beans that people don't know. Like some people got like weird things. Like I remember interviewing the homegirl Tyler, and she's like a big simmer. I mean,
Right,
nobody knows that about her, but she
right,
be on Sims. Or some people like, shoot, man, I draw at nighttime at between 2 and 3
right.
a.m. in my journal. Like you got any hobby like that people don't know about you? That's like a little special hobby.
I mean, I really enjoy Marvel.
Okay.
Like, I love like watching Marvel, going on YouTube, looking at the different breakdowns, different Easter eggs like that. But also, I just like this is going to sound crazy. This is like breaking
This
news.
this
or
this
whatever.
this is what we're here for right here.
So I'm seemingly an extrovert, but honestly, like at the end of the day, like I don't really like being around people. Like I'm an extrovert. I'll be around people, network, different things like that. But I really enjoy solace. I really enjoy like cultivating like my own space. If I can be in a completely all white room with paint and I could just throw the paint on the walls and different things like that, walk around with my shoes off and just like go at it. And I'm in there with like some music, a pen and a notepad, and I'm able to just create, that'd be like an ideal type of situation for me. But yeah, bro, like the more and more I tap in with myself, like energetically, it's hard for me to be around large groups of people sometimes because I can really feel energy at a higher level now.
I got a song, and I said, I say it's like it's less people around me, but it feels like a crowd
Right.
still. Still feels like a crowd knows less people around me. And I think because as you grow and you are like you have a lot of influence, you take up a lot of space, and I think you're also aware of that.
Absolutely.
So that's probably why you are the way you are, because I feel like people who have lot of highlight on them that's placed on by other people, they usually, like for instance, you always come along.
Right.
No matter most, when you come in, you always come along. You ain't never bringing nobody with
Right.
you.
Never.
You always rolling solo. That's that's it. Some people who are maybe extroverts are, hey, you trying to roll me to the studio? Like it's always you trying to roll with me. You know what I
Right.
mean? They need people around them. So, yeah, man, I could see that. I can for sure see that, especially when you always have to. You're always put in front of a crowd of people.
Right.
I
Every
s-
every
every moment,
everywhere,
right?
every
Everywhere you
moment, a
go,
crowd of people. Yo, Bean, say something. Yo,
right?
boom. And it's always that. But it's like I've is the I don't know if it's the Gemini in me. I love the stage, or I've loved the stage most of my life, but now I'm finding more solace off of the stage and pick and choosing when I need to do this or when I'm just like, you know what, today I'm gonna just chill.
Because and that's what happens when your value increases.
Right.
I ain't got to
Facts.
do all. I ain't got to do it all the
Facts.
time. Your reputation arrives before you do. I heard a good friend say that.
That's a
You know,
bar.
and he said when you want your reputation to arrive before you do, and for you, my friend, your reputation does do that. You're edified before you come in the room, and edification is something that I don't know if people really understand what it is. But if you say, "Yo, my boy, man, he's on this, he does that,
Right.
he's somebody,"
Right.
when that person walks in the room, there's a perception created around who this person is already.
Right.
And people do that well with you. When they talk about
I
you,
appreciate that, bro.
people talk about you, it's always in great taste and
I
it's
appreciate
always in
that.
a good spirit. So that's hard to do as well.
Yeah,
Reputation is everything.
absolutely.
Um, Couple more questions, man. I want to talk about what else you got your hands in, because we know about the playwright, and I know that's one of your. That's probably I personally think that. And then I don't know if you do motivational speaking, but it seems like that's the aura around you.
Right.
People want to hear what you have to say.
Right.
So I know those are two things, for sure. But what else do you got your hands in? Hands in?
So right now, a lot of people don't know I've been working on like a couple web series that I haven't put out yet. That one of them is going to be based off of the environment being in Camden, and another one is a story of not necessarily like Jamie Foxx story and the Jamie Foxx show, how he came from Texas. Now he's working at his aunt's hotel. Just a a story from my perspective, but it's going to be based out of the kitchen, because the kitchen that I learned at Comfort LA, there's so many different metaphors, from cross utilization, using the salt and pepper in the fish, and using that same salt and pepper for another ingredient, or cross contamination, having to wash your hands before you touch something else, or you're going to contaminate it. I have so many different metaphors that I'm turning into another craft. So that's something that hasn't necessarily been released. I wrote a book called Chef Beanz Recipe to a Woman's Heart that has a lot of metaphors in it. And I did that just to kind of prove to myself that I can write a book. And I'm just like failing myself forward, bro. Like I don't, as far as what Chef Beans got next, I mean, I have plans that I'm about to take the merch to the next level and things like that. But right now, the main thing on the table is transparency, because
Right.
that's going to be my introduction to a lot of people in the world. Right when that happens, that's when the waterfall is going to come with everything else, bro. But yeah, I'm just always throwing a lot of paint at a canvas, but not like sporadically, like very
Mm-hmm.
intentionally.
It can when and now as now I only got so much paint.
Right.
You
Exactly.
know what I'm saying? I only got so much paint. Um, Funny question I gotta ask you, then I'm gonna ask you a more serious
Okay.
one. But in black fraternities, we're both. I'm a Sigma as well, so we
Right.
know if you somebody wearing your letters that's not a part of the organization, it's an issue.
Right.
Now you rock the chef hat,
Right.
you know, to the point where people think like this dude really be in the kitchen,
Right.
right? But
Facts.
the metaphor is crazy. We
Right.
can get into that, right? Has there ever been a chef who's like, "Hey, bro, take that hat off"? You know what I'm saying? Have you ever?
Yo, the closest that it got to like that per se is so I started wearing the chef hat probably like 2015, 2016. I was at a cookout and I didn't have any paraphernalia at one of my frat brothers' cookout. And there was a vendor at a table, and the only thing he had left was like an Omega Sci-Fi chef hat. So I said, F it. I'll wear that. We wear whatever we want at these different events.
Right.
Put it on. My nickname was always Q Beans most of my life, just because Quan Bevins, my boys just randomly started calling me Q Beans. Once I wore the chef hat, people started calling me Chef Beans. And being that I was Omega Psi Phi chef hat, another chef slash cooking bro who went to Johnson and Wells, when he see me with the chef hat on, he's like, "Oh, you the cooking bros or whatever like that," different things like that. And then we actually have a great relationship now. And it wasn't like no take that hat off. He just wanted to see if I actually was of like the culinary aesthetic.
Right.
But outside of that, bro, especially in LA, we see a colorful amount of things out here. So
Yeah,
chef
you
hat
can.
is on a very lower scale of things that you'll see in LA. It's on the definitely on the lower scale of
Yeah.
things.
All
But
right.
then it also like it also opens up the conversation. Why you got the chef hat? Or you cook or whatever like that? And then we get into the conversation.
Yeah.
So by the time I tell them where Chef Beans doing everything like that, and I've got it down to like 30 seconds or less, it's like, oh, that's hard.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's just where I got it to.
You know, one of my favorite books is 48 Laws of Power.
Okay.
And because it teaches you how to, maintain power over others, maintain power yourself, and not allow people to maintain power over you, right?
Facts.
And one of the things it talks about is have something that separates you from the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
That has way more impact
Yes.
than anything else. That chef hat is not only symbolism, but it separates you from everybody. Nobody's wearing a chef hat
Nobody.
on a reg.
Nobody.
Not even chefs.
No, exactly.
So
my boy, shout out to Chef John. It's funny because he knew me before I was Chef Beans. And when I say he's like chef, I mean third generational
Now,
chef.
he do this.
Like about to open up a restaurant in Hollywood type thing.
My man got the right knives on him.
Like like keep his knives on him. So when it's funny when I first met him, he came at people who acted like they were chefs. Like you want to put a band-aid on, calling yourself a doctor. So why would you say you a chef? Like he one of those type New York dudes.
Yeah.
So when he first when I told him the whole Chef Beans thing, at first he didn't get it, but then he was like, I know you as the creative and X, Y, and Z. But yeah, I run into that all the time, bro, with people who just like
genius, bro.
Yeah, but again, I'm sorry, I bring that up because he don't even wear a chef hat. He wear a Yankee fitted.
That's what I'm saying.
And I'm like, yo, bro, do people actually wear that? Nobody wear that shit. Nobody wear that.
Where you finding these chef hats at, bro? I know
Bro,
you gotta
Amazon.
have a slew. Okay.
No, bro, Amazon. I bought like a pack of them, and it's funny because the original chef hat that I had, I lost in the fire. My crib caught on fire in 2017, right? And I had my chef hat in there, but after I lost all these different monetary things, I'm like, bro, you still got your creativity though. That's one thing that you didn't lose. So I just bought another chef hat, and that's honestly what propelled me with taking Chef Beans to a higher level. Once I lost a bunch of monetary things, and I had to just be like, what do you have left?
It's crazy because I don't even see it no more because I'm so used to you having it.
Right.
It'd be more awkward for you not to have it at this point. Which is, that means you've done it. You successfully created an image of you.
Yes.
And if somebody were to draw you, they say, oh, draw Chef Beans. I could draw a silhouette and know that that's you.
Right, facts.
People don't have that ability to do so, bro.
Right.
That is, like I said, you are literally taking one of the laws out of 4 laws of power and you're applying it 100%. Like to the T, bro, with just that hat.
It's that, and there's a book called Contagious by Jonah Berger.
I know about Contagious.
You know what I mean? And it just talked about word of mouth marketing being the best form of marketing.
Yeah.
So when I was at the round table with myself, I'm just like, what's something that can have people like talking word of mouth? Okay, like you have Chef Beans, like you need to keep adding on that culinary aesthetic.
Yep.
Whether that's getting a restaurant booth, whether that's getting a chef apron, whether
Right.
that's pulling up to open mics and doing
Yeah.
a performance with a chef hat on.
Yeah.
Let people know Chef Beans is in town.
Right.
And I just stayed consistent with that.
It's the character. Like you are building the character. Like
Yes.
it's different from, when you at home with your family and now I'm just Quan or whatnot,
Right.
But you understand that I'm presenting a character.
And that's a whole nother story, bro.
Man,
Yo, that's a whole nother story.
Right.
Family, man, that's just that. But you around strangers, they like, no, like that's Chef Beans.
Of course. Yep.
Like respect him as such.
Man, listen, when I started calling myself Keep Good News, some people was like laughing, like, good news. Like, what you talking about? Like, all right, what's the good news? And I'm like, you like saying it. So if you like saying it, that's what I want to be remembered. I want you to know me as Keep Good News because you remember it.
Right.
Even on my most professional emails, I still sign Keep Good News. I want people to know that that's what they don't forget me
Right.
at that point. So
And that's how
man,
they introduce you.
yep, absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, so you've done that 100% well. I just wanted to get the story behind the hat because I know it's like,
Nah, yo,
people
yeah.
always gotta ask,
You gotta
because people
ask.
probably gonna watch it like, my man got a chef hat on. Like, what's
Right.
what's my man on? Like, no, this is him. And by the way, he ain't put this hat on for this. Like,
Right.
he really, you run in these hats.
Yeah, absolutely.
You go
Absolutely.
straight jogs. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So shout out to you and your work with Keeping Around 100 too, man.
Oh yeah, that's my peoples over
Yeah,
there.
man.
Shout out to Butter and them.
Man, they've been doing a great job, man, getting people in Inglewood outside and running. I ran a marathon, and it's running is one of the most fulfilling things you could do.
Absolutely.
And now for the body I always say the body is the indirect or the direct benefit, but the indirect benefit is what it does for your mind.
No, absolutely. Because yeah, prior to like running with Keeper 100, it's certain lengths and distances that I didn't even think I was capable
Yep.
of doing just because I self-sabotage and
Yep.
cancel myself out until you do it and you're just reminded or even introduced to the capabilities of what your body/mind can do. And it's just like it's just a trickle effect. It's just a trickle effect that happens. So yeah, like running a marathon is definitely impactful.
Yeah. I mean, it changed my life, bro. It was
Yeah.
one of the hardest things I've ever done and the most rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me about a time when you felt like I want to give up.
Bro, I
The
want to
most recent one. Give me the most
Oh, the
recent
most
one.
recent
The most
one?
recent one.
The most recent one, I want to say it was either in August of last year, 2022, or I mean, the overarching one, bro. Honestly, when I was really about to go home was 2019. I had like my first anxiety attack.
You was about to bounce, huh?
Bro, I was
you
about
get
to
the
bounce
eject.
because I'm like, yo, like my bread is in the basement. Rent is due tomorrow.
Yeah.
I got like $5 in my pocket. I got to figure out how I'm going to pay rent tomorrow.
Right.
And it was just all these different things. I'm questioning if I am who I proclaim myself to be, all these different things. But I took a moment, took a breath, broke down exactly what I needed to execute, and I took care of it. But that was like one of the prime moments where and my car got repossessed like a month before that. So it was just like the
Getting
car that I
punched
drove
on.
out, I was just getting punched on and stumped out in every different direction. And I still had to go to work.
Right.
So it's like, okay, I don't have a car no more. Now I got to hop on the bus. And then it was just like, I just constantly kept like I was being pushed around. But right when I was like at the verge of thinking I was going to quit, took a breath, and then things just started to just like appear piece by piece. So it's just I'm grateful. Like the gratitude like pumps through my veins and out of my pores because I know I've endured. I know I've had moments where I could have easily just retreated, but it's just like
Let me ask you this. So how did that moment get better? Because like I want to hear how you got out of that rut. Because like what was the process?
so I got out of that rut like when rent was due, I had to catch a bus to work, everything like that. I just realized that it would be more expensive financially and emotionally for me to just turn around and go back. And I have great sessions of self-talk with myself. So just as I can beat myself up like, yo, what are you doing? Are you even who you proclaim yourself to be? There's a louder voice that's telling me you are who you proclaim yourself to be. You have been in rougher moments. You understand that you're dog whistling as well as yelling to the generations to come for the people who are looking up to you. You got this. Just take a moment to breathe. You are allowed that moment, but understand you've endured, but there's a reward at the other side of this endurance. So that's how I get myself out of any situations where I feel like I'm in a rut. There's a voice that's telling me that probably has some type of apprehension, but there's a louder voice saying, you are who you say you are.
So even then, like, what'd you do with it? Like, did you?
Oh, so
like,
I mean, if we're talking about just like that, so I have a bunch of people back home who support me. So around the time when rent was due, I just broke it down. Probably got 100 from this person,
right,
50
right,
from
for
that
sure,
person.
definitely, right.
Broke it down. As far as like emotionally, I'm just like, yo, as long as I got a roof over my head, I can figure it out. If I got $20 in my pocket, I've survived off of $20 a week.
Right.
Whether that's oodles and noodles and fucking
PB&J,
PB&J and water, like I'm gonna get through it. So that's how I got through moments like that. If it's financially, reach out to friends and loved ones. Yo, can you shoot me this? I'll pay you back on this date. and just kind of take
See,
it from there.
I'm glad you said that because that's a moment of true humility. One thing that a person, I'm sure, like of who you are, a very proud individual, and
Yeah.
I done moved to LA. I made it
Right.
right
Facts.
for a lot of people. And now I'm
Facts.
calling those same people like, yo, can you shoot me bucks?
Right.
And they
Right.
probably like, I told your ass not to be going out, right?
Right. It's a lot of that, and they looking on the gram like, yo, like you
Yeah.
good, and they still in
Why
their
you need-
regular
Right.
bops or whatever like that. But now it's like, it's not even like I've ever had any "I told you so" moments with the people who've
Yeah.
supported me. I
Mhm.
think it's just more so the people like the silent watchers, the people who have perfect attendance in your views but never say nothing,
Mhm.
who you know, or you probably heard from somebody else that. Prime example, when I moved out here, one of my closest boys, he said, like, yo, so they put you in a group chat because it was something that I posted on the gram when I told
Right.
you those vulnerable moments.
Right.
Like, yo, Quan, get out there because I'm loved in Jersey. People know who I am. They're like, yo, Beanz, get out there, Quan, get out there. And he put back in the chat, like, yo, like, trust me, he's good. We talk all the time. But I'm sure, like, that group chat, if I was to get put in there, it looks a lot different now that they're seeing the result of my
Yeah.
endurance.
Right.
Because a
Right.
lot of times people only got what they feel as though they're given, and that's what they're making a perception off of. But
For
it's
sure. Like some people don't know this. They're not watching. They don't know this is happening right now.
right,
They literally don't know this is happening right now.
right,
Then they're going to see the clips. Then they're going to say, "Oh man, watch. Well, I promise you, we gonna look at the we gonna collaborate on this. So we gonna see
right.
the comments, and it's going to be a lot of support. You know what I mean from there. But they're even them are they're in the wrong moment.
Right.
They're in the past moment. You're
Right.
on. Yeah, you're doing something else as they comment on that, right?
Doing something completely different, but it's that
Yeah.
foresight, bro. I think a lot of people, if they like exercise their foresight, really sit with themselves, look at their situation, especially if they feel like spiritual warfare or
Yeah.
whatever feels stagnant. If you continue with that path, where would I see? Where am I going to be in a year or in 5 years? Different things like
Mhm.
that. That's another thing that propelled me out here. I felt stagnant, dormant.
Right.
I'm like, yo, if I keep this up, I'm gonna be unfulfilled, and I'm gonna have resentment towards the people around me or whatever like that. That's not the type of life I want to live. So I was willing to completely restart, reroute, redirect, and build from the ground up. And
Mhm.
that's the reflection of what a lot of people are seeing now. And I'm grateful that I documented it because it's like I've been telling y'all,
Yeah.
this ain't it. This ain't that.
Would you ever move back?
Well, no, I wouldn't. No, let me. I've thought about that before. The bag would have to be super crazy, but even then,
Right.
I would probably be bi-coastal.
Yeah.
Because I have a choice now as an adult where I want
Yeah.
to live weather-wise,
Yeah.
and I'm big on like proximity from people who think they know. You knew the old version of myself that I've
Right.
outgrown, and
Yeah.
that's the standard that you still holding me to.
That's very
I'm
true.
not involved or care about some of the same conversations that clearly is the norm in here.
Yeah.
And it's not no shot or anybody else. People know it's still all love, but people know not to hit my phone with old stuff anymore because I'm just not even going to engage. I'm not on that no more.
Like right now, like if any of my homies hit me up on some like where the bitch, I'm like, bro, I'm not even gonna respond to your text. Like I'm just not there anymore.
Right.
Yeah, no, I feel that. Yeah, man. I got a question too. I mean, just kind of one of my final questions I like to ask, and I told you a little bit about this. The day you were born, you
Right.
signed a contract to die.
Right.
Let that be very known, and everybody will, without a doubt, have a last and final day here.
Right.
Don't know when it is. So I like to at least give the opportunity to speak from that perspective.
Right.
So today won't be your last, but however, one day you will have one, and maybe this would be something that a message you want to share. So
Right.
today was your last day. What is something, a message, anything that you would want to tell your friends, family, and loved ones?
I would tell them that it's always, and it always has been, all love. I would tell them that don't be afraid to let adults be adults. Sometimes we make decisions for other people. Just focus on the love that exists within you. But then there will be another sentiments that I would have to the generations to come. Understand that your thoughts are a reflection of your reality. And the more and more you thinking and see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand and just understand the feelings and the intuition that you have. Like listen to that voice, listen to those tugs, listen to things that don't feel right, and don't be afraid to be the best version of yourself within that. That's ultimately what I would tell them, and add intention to the things that you do.
Yeah, if I had to write anything, On your tombstone will be intentional for
Be
sure.
intentional.
And I think that you've done a great job coining that. I see it around. I've
Yes.
seen it on different people, and that makes me happy every time I see it
I appreciate
because
that.
I'm like, yo, I know that guy.
Right.
And like I said, it's very important that your reputation shows up before you do.
Mm.
Anytime somebody wears a Be Intentional shirt, that's you.
Yes.
That's you. And that's your message that you are giving the world.
Yes.
And those are the people who agree with it. And I think nobody would disagree with it. So,
Right.
man, it's been a pleasure, man. It
Likewise,
has
bro.
been. It has been, man. This has been a very, very, very good interview. Something I want to say is that if y'all see Chef Beanz out in the streets, ask him, do he got paint on his boots?
Yeah. Yo, that was a bar. That was a bar, bro.
And it's guaranteed he's gonna say, man, look at my feet.
Right.
You know, and you, my brother, have a lot of paint
Yes.
on your boots.
Yes.
Because you have done a lot of work. And for you to not be here, I'll take my chef hat off to you.
Right.
And man, I appreciate you once again for being with us today. Man.
Appreciate you too, bro.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have been introduced to Chef Beanz.